Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Scratch tutorial. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to make Flappy Bird in Scratch. Let's get started. So basically, I'm going to have this project. It's going to be linked in the description. You can go, remix it. It'll be shared, but you'll just be able to go here, yoink it, and then you'll have all the art and stuff I use, minus the code. You'll need to watch this to figure that out. So, first, in the bird. Well, actually, before that, let's go ahead and just see. So, in this project, the bird, just bird, two different kinds of pipes. One that's close together, one that's further apart. We have the ground, and then we have this city backdrop that I made. So, in the bird, we can go ahead and start with a green flag clicked block. So, after that, go ahead and add the forever loop, and this will house pretty much all the code inside the bird. So now, first thing to do is gravity. So what we could do is just add a change y by like -2. If we do that, bird will fall, but he falls at a constant rate, and that's not very realistic. So instead of that, we want him to start falling slow and then get faster and faster the more he falls. So to do that, go to the Variables tab, make a variable y velocity. So for this, when green flag is clicked, set it to 0. And then while you're at it, you can go ahead and go to motion, and then just have him go to 0, 0. Great. So now, inside of here, forever loop, you can go ahead and delete my variable if you wish. You can go ahead and change y velocity by, I'd go with -1. Not very realistic, but it works. So now if we were to run this, nothing happens. Show this, that's going by a lot. So something cool about variables, if they're in a loop, they will go at an infinite speed. So like in the 2 seconds they left this on, it jumps to whatever number that is. But they will just jump going infinite speed. But as soon as you add something else, like a motion block, they'll go at a slower speed, like that. Now he's just ticking up. And that's just because the way Scratch works, because it's a web browser, it would run at like around 30 FPS if it has to move something, but if not, it'll just go as fast as it can. So now, to actually have him move, we'll want to change y by the y velocity. Great, so now if we run that, bird will fall. Pardon the computer lag, still using a laptop, not quite have a computer. Now, we can actually make him jump, because he needs to be able to, like, flap. Hence the name Flappy Bird. So add a Win key space pressed block, and this will basically just be the key to jump. You can make this whatever you want, up arrow, etc. And now here, you're going to add a set y velocity to, I'd go with 10. And to that, in Flappy Bird, if you're falling really fast, you don't need to click a ton to just stay steady. You can just click once and he automatically goes up. So instead of changing it, even if this is -20, it'll be set to 10 as soon as we jump. And now what we can do is add a change y by y velocity so that he actually moves. Now if we were to run this, he flaps. One small issue, if you were to hold space, he'll just fly up into the sky. And that's not really what we want. So after this, just add a wait until, not, key space pressed. And that will just make it so that you have to release spacebar before you can jump again. So great, that works. But something you might notice in Flappy Bird, whenever you jump, he points up. So we can just add that by just point in direction. So as soon as you jump, point in direction, like I'd go 58. So now when you jump, you go up. Pardon the lag, oh my gosh. Now, you just need to go back here, and he needs to actually be able to go down. So when he's not jumping, and when he's not going up, he needs to point downwards. So this y velocity determines if he's going up or down. So if he's going up, like when he jumps, he's going to be pointing up. But when he's in negative, meaning he's falling down, we want him to point downwards. And the closer he gets to the ground, the more we want him to point down. So with this, we can do a pretty big chunky block, but it's worth it. It looks nice. If, then go ahead and grab an AND block, we'll need that. If 0 is greater than Y position. So what this is doing, by the way, you can access Y and X position in motion right here, along with direction. So if 0 is greater than, that's an X position, need Y position. So if this is true, then that means he is below midway. So he's going down. And then the next one, you can just go ahead and duplicate that. If 0 is greater than Y velocity, that means he has to be lower than midway, and he has to be going down, not up. So if this is true, go ahead and point in direction. Point in direction, add a operator, plus. Point in direction, add a divided by. Absolute value, and absolute value, or ABS as it's abbreviated, is just, I assume most of you know this, but if not, it's basically just the distance from 0. So if he's negative 50, the absolute value is 50. If he's at positive 50, absolute value is 50. So ABS of Y position. And then divided by 2. So what this does is it's basically, so from 0 to down here, that's if he's normally pointing at 90 right here, about there, yep. From here to the ground, it's 90 degrees. So we want him, as soon as he's right about to hit the ground, be right there, but when he's midway, be right there. So to do that, we do 90, or rather, so there's 180 from 0 to the ground. So that's 0, down here is negative 180y. So absolute value of 180 divided by 2 is 90. So that means there's 90 degrees from here to here, and that's why we do that. And then add that to 90, because if we didn't do that, if he's about to hit the ground, he'll be like that. Or he'll rather be like that. But if we add 90, we're adding down here and not up there. So boom, there's that. Now we run this, minus all the lag, of course. We'll look at something that looks like this. You can flap up. When he goes to hit the ground, he's falling like that. Nice. So now, that's working great. You can go ahead and hide the Y velocity variable. We are all done with that. Mostly. So now we have all that. Great. Now it's time for the next most important thing, the pipes. So these, once again, like I said, 2 costumes. One for that, one for that. And once again, to get all the assets, link in the description, remix that project. It should be the first link. Yeah. So now, for the pipes, when green flag clicked, go ahead and hide. And then we want them to go like all the way back here. So right here, make sure you set this to 0. So like 245x, let's just go with that. Good. So now, the reason we hit it at the start is because we're going to be using clones, so that they're going to be multiple on the screen as they move across. So to do that now, forever, wait until, wait X seconds, and then we're going to want to pick random. You can choose this. I'm going to go with 1 to 3. You can change that whatever you want. The shorter the possible wait time, or average possible wait time is, the harder it will be. And now set Y to pick random again, -50 to 50. So that will make it fluctuate from like all the way, it could go like up here to down there. One more thing, since we have 2 costumes, switch costume to pick random 1 to 2. And I'll just switch randomly between the first and the second one. And since Scratch is weird sometimes, just go ahead and name that one 1, that one 2. So Scratch doesn't get confused. Great. Now we have that. Final thing to do here is create clone of myself. So that's all that the parent needs. The parent is the actual sprite, not the clones. But now for the actual clones, we'll start their journey with a when I start as clone block. Here, you will go ahead and show it because it's been hidden because of the parent, but as soon as it comes over here, we want it to be visible. Now add a repeat until block. Repeat until, add a greater than, -220, so like over here, so like all the way over here, is greater than X position, meaning that as soon as the clone passes like around here, then this will activate. Or this will stop activating, rather. Change X by negative, and then once again, this is just how to make it move. So the bigger the absolute value of this number is, the more difficult it will be. I'll just go with -4. You can play around with that, add a slider variable, have fun with it. So now, great, we have that, and then at the end of this, once he passes here, we'll want to delete this clone. Great work. Now if we were to run this, they move along. So, and you can see the fluctuating. That first one was the first. These are the second. So now, if I were to run into this, nothing happens. That's an issue. We want the bird to die once it once it hits the pipe. So to do that, go over to the bird, and then make a variable, and call it dead, then the question mark, do whatever you want. And what this will do is, if the bird is alive, it will be 0, meaning still alive, game should keep going. So you can add that to green flag clicked, just set dead to 0. That just means, hey, the bird's not dead, keep going. But then, once we hit a pipe, we want dead to set to 1 so that everything else knows, hey, it's dead, let's stop doing the game. Actually move on to the deadness, or whatever. Inside of this loop, add an if touching pipes, then broadcast, and just make a new broadcast, call it death, or something along those lines so you know what it is. So broadcast that out to all the sprites, and then just stop this script. So that'll stop the bird from moving. And then here, once the bird dies, here, we only stop this loop. But we also want to make it so that this will stop. Because if the bird's dead, the bird can't go up or down just by gravity, but it can still jump, and that's not good. We don't want it to be able to jump when it's dead. So over all of this, add a big if-then, if dead equals 0. That just means if the bird is still alive, keep doing this and you're able to jump. So now, add a broadcast receive, when I receive block, when I receive death. This is just the death animation, or just what the bird does when it dies. So change or set dead by 1, it doesn't matter. And then we're just wanting to add so when it hits, for example, when it hits the pipe, we want it to go straight, nose out, and then just fall. I'll leave on screen right now when I'm editing this, a video of what it looks like an actual Flappy Bird when it dies. We want it to look like that. So, as soon as this happens, point in direction 90. Bam, so now it's pointing straight out. Now, turn like this, 90 degrees. Now it's pointing straight down. Set Y velocity to 0, so that it doesn't keep going up. And then we're going to want to simulate it falling, which is just like we did here. Right here, we're just going to put something like that here. So repeat until touching ground. Change Y velocity by -1 or whatever you had that at before, and then change y by y velocity. So now he will just keep falling down until he hits the ground. Great, there's that. We play that. See? Start working great. We can hit the pipe and fall. There's another issue. The pipes keep going, even after you've died. That's because here, we stop the main script with this. This has a loop, or an if statement, so it only goes if it's alive, and then this is just for death. But over at pipes, nothing at all is stopping that. So, for here, we're going to go under this. So make sure you leave the wait out of this, because if you don't, then if you were to, so go ahead and, before I explain this, add if dead equals 0. So just if the bird is still alive, it's good to keep going. So if you were to put the wait, like for example, inside of this, then if dead is 0, it starts waiting, and then while it's still waiting, it dies, then this is still going on. So as soon as the bird dies, if it's still inside waiting, then a new pipe will spawn while it's dead. And we don't want that, because that can make it look ugly. So just put this outside of here, so that even after it finishes waiting, even when it started waiting, the bird's alive. After it finishes, it's dead. This won't happen. And now here, you can move that over to the side, and then add or dead equals 1. So this is just repeating until either the bird dies or it gets here where it will despawn. And then, when we go delete this clone, we only want the clone to disappear if it actually is still alive, because it's not very fun when you're at a really good part, you die, you want to show it to your friends, and then all the pipes are gone. So just add another, you can duplicate this over. If dead equals 0, delete this clone. If not, it'll still stay there. So great, all that's working. You can play it. Play it, go along, doing great. You die, whoop. That, and it all works. Great. But now you'll see the bird is currently like on top of the ground. The actual game, it's more like behind it. So here, simply add a when green flag click to the ground, go to front. Bam. So that will work. So now the only thing we're missing is scoring. So to do that, whenever the bird passes through a pipe, you want it to score a point. I'm gonna hide that. Add a variable score for all sprites. And then over here at pipes, make another variable scored, question mark or whatever, for this sprite only. So for this sprite only one, when I start his clone, set score to 0. So he hasn't been scored yet. But then as soon as, so if this is dead center, we want it to count as a score as soon as it passes, like, let's say, -50. Let's say, yeah, -50. Okay, so here, so while he's still moving, if X position is less than -50, meaning he's past the threshold to score, then change score by 1. That works. But now, every single time he moves, he's going to increase the score by 1. So to prevent that, also set scored to 1, meaning as soon as he scores once, set this local variable, so it's only for this clone, to 1, saying, hey, I've been scored. So now here, place that, add an and, put that back in, and scored equals 0, meaning this only applies if he hasn't scored yet. Great, that works. So now over here in the bird, just go ahead and set score to 0 when he starts. Great. That should be done now. If we were to run this, play it. See, we can go through. Go that. Die. Bam. Goes into the ground. And one last thing, you'll want to show this. Make it large readout or something. Put it wherever you want. I'll just leave it in the corner. So when you run it, score 0. Going along, playing. Pass through a pipe. Scores 1. Another 2. Another 3. Oh, I died. Great. So yeah. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. We're really close to 1,000 subscribers, so if you can go ahead and smash that like button, then we'll get even closer. Thank you guys for watching. Join my Discord server, link below, and I'll see you next time.